So now that we've reviewed the positioning and the anatomy of the Y-view shoulder, let's go on to the critique of it. So as I said, what we want when we position this patient is to have a lateral view of the shoulder, which is essentially where the scapula is in a lateral projection. And that's when the medial and lateral borders are superimposed. So to achieve this, we had to oblique the patient. So then that's where some of our positioning errors can occur, is whether we oblique the patient too much or not enough. So if this is the optimal position, this RAO position, not enough rotation, because remember we started PA? This is our patient in the PA projection or position, and then we rotated the patient RAO until we saw the patient's medial and lateral borders of the scapula superimposed. So then there can be two errors in positioning for rotation. We can rotate them not enough, so they've gone too close to PA, still too close to the PA projection, or we rotated them too much, so the patient's gone into a lateral position. So let's go back to the optimal. This was our optimal, where you can see the medial and lateral borders of the scapula are superimposed. Now, if you look just on the anterior aspect of the scapula, I'll just point my finger there. So this is the anterior aspect. So you can see that's where the ribs live. And both the medial and lateral borders of the scapula are in the same spot in relation to the ribs. So if we under-rotate the patient, so the patient's a little bit too close to PA, like this, so I'm flattening him out this way towards the board, you can start to see a little bit of red poking out. That's the lateral border of the scapula, and you can still see the medial border here. What happens with this under rotation is that the medial border now is seen closer to the ribs than the lateral border. So with under rotation, you'll see the medial border. I'll go closer. The medial border of the ribs, the medial border of the scapula closer to the ribs than the lateral border of the scapula. Let's go back to optimal. So this is optimal. Now let's over-rotate the patient. So this means that we're getting closer to the lateral position. Okay, so in this position, we went from optimal, and you can see where the medial and the lateral border is just behind it. If we over-rotate, you'll start to see that the medial border, I'll just bring this guy to rest so I can put my finger there. You'll start to see that the medial border is here, and that the lateral border is actually on this side this time. So in this position, over rotation, closer to lateral, the lateral border of the scapula would be closer to the ribs than the medial border.